Hey,
Yay! Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we can wait for some people to get here, but we can chat a little bit just to start. What have you been up to today? How's it going? How's life?
Confined at home, but it's not so bad. Lots of time to make art and to recharge batteries.
Good.
And Pacific Northwest, we know, it's another great day today,
Yeah,
which can be inspiring sometimes, but
true. Sometimes I feel
yeah.
really cozy on gray days.
Yeah, right. Like you just want to stay home and sip some tea and just watch the wind through the pine trees and hear the rain and it's like
Yes,
it's like a
yes.
nice environment for that sometime.
I agree. I agree. So how long have you been
Hmm.
in Seattle?
It's been 5 years now.
Oh, nice.
I'm yeah, I'm more towards the Tacoma side, but it allows me to really see both Seattle and everything that's around Pacific Northwest between Portland and Vancouver, really. And that's
Yeah.
that's what's amazing about here is that there's just so much diverse destination you can go to.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. That's one of my favorite things about this area.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what actually brought you out here?
Um, well, I was living, I'm from France, and I moved to New Orleans. I was extremely interested and kind of passionate with New Orleans for some time. So I lived there, and then it's such an intense place that after a couple of years, I wanted something drastically different, and
Hmm.
it is really drastically different to go to the Pacific Northwest, and I think I was attracted to yeah, the weather and also a lot of the culture that I was just familiar with. Like I haven't, witnessed it with my own eyes, but
Yeah.
both like the music and the independent art scene from the 90s and everything Seattle used to be kind of before Amazon kind of changed the landscape a little bit, but it was kind of a super vivid place culturally
Yeah.
in the 90s and even earlier that, and I felt a little connected by that. So I was just, interested into living here. So that was the main reason I moved up here, and yeah, so far so good. It's been great.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you love it here. I was born and raised here, and I've never left. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm a fan.
yeah.
So you told me earlier a little bit that when you were actually very little is when you started art. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so I think when I was a kid, I didn't think of it as art that much. See, like in my family, there was not many visual artists.
Mm,
It was different kinds of professions, and actually probably mostly people that were very into music mostly. Um, and so to me, it was really. I mean, I loved comics since I was like 4 or 5 years old, both like French comics, and actually I was exposed also to like Japanese comics in the 90s. It was
nice.
a huge culture, and to me, I didn't think of it as art in the same way that I would, being taught, what a painting is, what an oil painting is. To me, it was just drawings and like just awesome drawings, and to me, it was that connection. So I started doing the same. I started trying to emulate what I was enjoying reading and enjoying seeing, and it was only for fun for most of my childhood until high school. And because it wasn't technically art to me, I never considered doing it a career when I was when I was a kid and I was in high school. So I started, I left for Paris and I studied architecture because to me, like
Oh,
doing art could never really be a job. It was kind of this side thing. And actually, I was disconnected from art in my 20s a little bit. I was making music, and I put down the pencils for some years. And again, it's comics, actually this time most American and independent American comic scene that brought me back to, drawing again and making art again and got me really excited. And I started really getting into the illustration scene, seeing all these amazing things you could do because I could feel that there was um a connection between some of the art I was seeing online,
Yeah,
really amazing pieces of art, and people who loved comics. And it was kind of that crossroads between comics and making awesome visual pieces. And that got me back into the thing. And then I moved to the US, and it's when I was in the US that I really, decided to make a career out of it and pushing it. So yeah, so that was kind of my, the short version of my road to where I am today.
that's awesome. It sounds like you've had a very like varied career, like lots of different kinds of things that you've tried and then landed
Yeah,
here. And it's interesting
yeah.
too because actually the person that we had on for an interview earlier, she mentioned something very similar that she didn't think of art as a job like that. But then it sort of happened. And so that's cool to hear the story of how you got there. Um,
Yeah.
so how does storytelling play out in your art? Like you were telling us a little bit about how you're kind of like a comic artist, like you like to do comics and so tell me more about like stories and how you put those into your art.
So to me, it was always a little difficult for me because I don't really write. So I mean, for the longest time, I felt like I just wanted to make illustration and not do comics because I know how to do core drawings, but I didn't know how to write a story. It took me some time to, come to terms with that. But I realized that storytelling to me was didn't have to be necessarily a fixed story of something happens and whatever. To me, storytelling can be a little more subtle. For
Mm-hmm.
example, you just see a character like, for example, in this drawing that I've made recently, you just see, a man and you don't see much, and just with some elements, his pose, you can, to me, it is a start, it is a style of storytelling when just the elements can make you imagine what happens. And it's kind of a subtle storytelling, and to me, I know it can sound like a cop out, like, oh, I don't really tell many stories, so I let I tell people, yeah, you can see whatever you want to see. It's not really that. It's more like, to me, the best stories are the one we come up with ourselves when we are triggered by something, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like if I talk about emotions, sometimes we look at movies and we are annoyed when a movie is too sad because it's kind of like right up in our face, and then I'm like, the movie is telling us to be sad, but if it's hinted by just an element and you make your way in your head to that emotion, it's stronger. And to me, in art, it's the same
Wow.
way. When you have a little element that's triggering a story in your own head, to me, I think it's a little stronger. At least to me, that as a viewer, that's how I enjoy things.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I figured that out after a while that it is fine to not have an exact writing style in my head. So storytelling to me is a more subtle thing. Although that being said, I've been trying to write more so because I can actually make comics. Because when you make comics, you actually have to write. So
Yeah.
actually, it's recent, but I've started getting into actual storytelling and through courses and stuff from screenwriting. It's been really eye-opening, the
That's
mechanics of
cool.
it.
I love
Yeah,
your idea though, that and like Michelle commented too, that concept of subtlety that you can tell an entire story with just that one image. It's like that saying like the picture's worth a thousand words. Like
yeah, absolutely.
just right, like just with the way he's standing, like his head's down, he has his hands behind his back, like it looks like something that he didn't really like happened. And
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of come up with a storyline about it just by seeing that image.
Yeah, and there is a fine line when you do that between, oh, you're really holding back too much, and it's like, oh, there's really not that much to it, or there is something that you kind of want the viewer to figure out. And it is a fine line that I think is interesting to, to go to. In this picture, it's the same thing in this picture. Well, it's just a portrait of a mechanic, and to me, it can tell many things because I like illustration work too. Sometimes I work on pictures that have more of an actual story. Like, for example, this image is from an Edgar Allan Poe
Mm-hmm.
story. It's actually the most famous one, The Telltale Heart. I don't know if you've read it, but yeah, it's the story of this man being observed while he sleeps. by this like dangerous young guy who wants to take all his money. And so this is more like an illustration type of work where I'm
Right.
actually illustrating a moment of the story. But I like just with this, even if you don't know the story, you can kind of make up this
Mm-hmm.
distributing of what's going on. And to me, this is really what stimulates me, you know, as a storyteller. Because yeah, being an artist and being a storyteller is not that different, really. That's what I realized.
True. That's a good
Yeah,
point. It makes me think of when I was little and my mom would read me stories, and like I would be hearing her voice while I'm looking at the images, and it's like the whole thing all together is an experience. Um,
yeah,
and it makes the story more rich. And I think even for like little kids, it's like some of those, like when you read them a story, it's like they're getting that first practice in using their imagination to envision something, which I think is a really
yeah.
important skill.
It is extremely strong. I think when kids and people when they come up with images in their own head, in a way, it's always gonna be stronger than what they're gonna see.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime something you think is happening, or you just imagining what it is, and it gets burned into your brain in a
Mm-hmm.
different way than if you actually see it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And because to me, the power of imagination and um, like triggering images from yourself is super strong to me.
Yeah.
So it is a good like tool to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you heard of the author Olivia Butler?
Olivia Butler. Olivia Butler. It's familiar,
Yeah,
but I feel
she's
like I should know it.
she writes sci-fi, and
Hmm.
she has a quote. I don't remember the exact quote, but she was saying like she writes all these novels because she wants to imagine a different world. And that for
Hmm.
her, like using her stories to imagine a different world and then sharing them with people who all like thousands of people like buy her books, they she's like trying to encourage them to start imagining a better world so that people can kind of work on that too. And I think that's a really cool thing about um art, especially people who use their work to tell stories. Um, it's really engaging that imagination and helping people like be able to envision a better world. So that's cool.
Yeah, and it makes me think of something. There is we talk and we are people who are enjoying other people's art a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a huge difference when you actually start making your own art, because you realize you have a voice, and it is extremely
Mm-hmm.
humbling when you realize that what you're doing, what you're saying, is going to be experienced by other people who are going to have different opinions. Some people embrace it. Some people say, "Okay, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and people are gonna listen to me, and this is awesome." But some other people, and I think I'm one of these people, is I'm sometimes a little crippled by that, in a sense that realizing that I am a voice, I feel like okay, I've got some sort of a I wouldn't say responsibility, but um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a okay, how am I? What do I do? Why does it matter? Or does it even matter? Is it just for myself, or does it have any sort of importance? And it is a concept that I think of a lot, since I tend to be a little shy about my opinions in general about many things in life, and I'm like, okay, do my art has to be the same way, or do I have to be blunt about some things, or do I just it always comes down to you gotta be yourself. Your art is never gonna be good if you're trying to be someone you don't want to be,
Right.
and when you start making art and realizing that you have a voice and that it can be interpreted in so many ways, it's really humbling and empowering at the same time. Depending of the day, some days it's empowering, some days it's like scary. Yeah, and
I love
I'm
that.
on a long road I'm on a long road to be like, okay, especially when I start writing comics, I'm like, okay, I'm actually writing a story. Why does it matter? Why is it important? Does it have to be
Mm.
a story or another? It's a difficult road, like kind of the moral side of things.
Right. I mean, I think that anybody can be an artist, but you touched on something really cool, which is that people who do choose to actually put themselves and like throw themselves into their art as their lifestyle, um, it's almost like you become a messenger for other people of these concepts that touches their lives. And that
Mhm.
is kind of a responsibility. But it's also just, it's cool. It's almost like having like a special connection with inspiration source, like you're really tapped in. Um, and then being able to just put that out into the world for other people, almost like you're like a medium or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it's it speaks to the unconscious. Like for example, I mean, I draw a lot of kind of things that are a little dark, a little eerie, and I've had a couple of times people asking me, "Hey, why do you do that?" Actually, it's often family. It's not so much f fans or whatever. It's often family. They're
Yeah,
gonna ask me, "Hey, why do you do this creepy stuff?" And
right.
to be honest, I don't know. Like, it was never a calculation. It was never something that I decided was cool. It was just, okay, I know I'm just triggered by these images, like triggered in a positive way.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if I know why, but to me it feels like this is the natural path. And then I go back and forth between doing it unconsciously,
Yeah,
and doing it. I actually have to think about what I'm doing because I need to put my best foot out there and say something I really mean. Um, and it is concepts that every day I think about it. Like, okay, what does it mean? What all the decisions I make about what I want to show.
yeah,
So yeah, it is super interesting.
yeah.
You know.
Like what is it saying about you, the work that you put
Mhm.
out there into the world? Yeah. And what is
Yeah.
that message, that overall whole message that you want to put out into the world? That's almost like the message that's being said by your whole portfolio of work.
Yeah, some artists, their message is very cryptic, and sometimes they kind of try to sometimes mold it in a certain way. It depends also what kind of environment it is. Like for example, for gallery work, you have to have an artist statement. You absolutely have to,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it kind of forces the artist to make sense of what they do, even
Mm.
if before that maybe it had some sort of the artist had an opinion, but they didn't really wrote it down or didn't really know how to phrase it. It was all very mushy and all very like, oh, it's all the unconscious. It's stuff from
Right.
my dreams. It's whatever I dreamed last night, whatever. And then suddenly you have to put a spin on it to make it relevant. And it's super scary sometimes, but it's useful to figure out who you are as a person. I think making art is actually the best way to figure out who you are as a person,
Mm.
um, because you have to create something. You don't just enjoying other people's art and other people's creation.
Yeah. Yeah, like the creative process is how you find out about yourself. That is such a cool concept. Like, because I feel like people think like, oh, I'm me. I should just know who that person is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But it's like, no, you're born like a tiny little baby. You don't even know how to poop. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, you
right.
don't know anything, and you are this whole person. And it's like, we do have a self that we get to spend this lifetime discovering.
Some people, it's very easy and natural. They figure out by instinct. They figure out exactly what they want to do. It all just come naturally. And for other people, for example, when you're an artist, there's a lot of beginner artists that ask, how to find your style, and the answer is often just know what you like,
Mhm.
figure out what you like, and just this process. When I'm making art, I mean, when I started making art. And seriously, I had to figure out what do I like, and not just, in a superficial manner, not just, oh, what type of medium do I like, but also what type of atmospheres do I like, what type of message that I feel connected to, what type of morals get conveyed through art, and figuring out what you like instead of just kind of casually being detached from it, just actively figure out
Right.
what you like helps you define yourself as a person. And I think that's what's super interesting about being creative, you know. So yeah, it's that's a kind of an endless journey. you know.
That's awesome. Um, okay, so we're almost done, but I have two more questions.
hmm
So, can you tell us about what is your favorite piece that you've ever put out? Or if that's too hard, like, what's your favorite piece that you did in the last year or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I prepared a couple of pieces here, but I think my favorite piece is it's kind of this series of monotypes that I've done
Ooh,
last year. I'm not sure if I had to pick one, it would have been probably the first one I ever did, um, which is probably this one.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
so thank you. The thing is that uh, since I'm a kid, I've been having this recurring dream of, you know, black dogs. And it's always like tied to some family things. Like I see myself in my grandma's house and there's like these black dogs and I don't know what it means. I have no clue what it means, but turns out it is something that just comes from my unconscious and sometimes you just gotta embrace it. And
Yeah.
I decided to act on it and I was exploring the mediums of monotype, which is basically using this thing, a little roller, and basically drawing on a plexiglass like this. And once I've got the drawing here, I kind of just remove the parts and I run it through a press. I press it really hard, and I basically get this drawing with a lot of like texture, which is made by the roller. And to me, I
Oh,
mean, I've always been a huge fan of that. Like, there's an artist called Jeffrey Allen Love that I've met in Kansas City, and he actually introduced me to that technique. And there is this technique that I was doing for a little bit, and I was trying to push it with the monotype thing, with that idea of black dogs that I've had in my dreams. And to me, it's like a very dear concept to me, and a medium, the monotype thing, that I think I've pushed it as far as I could go. So this is my favorite piece, and all the ones that I've made in the same series. Um, and also just the fact that I was able to actually keep up with the series, being consistent about. So the thing about this series is that each one of these dogs is coming from a different mythology.
nice.
For example, this is called Sarama. This is like the mother of all dogs in the Indian mythology. This is this is Cerberus, you know, from the Roman mythology. Uh, and this is there's a lot of like English folklore. That this one is like this ghost dog from English folklore. So I really try to combine kind of historic folklore mythology thingies that I think are really cool, and a cool medium that I was really into at the time, and an idea that I had in my dreams. So all that combined makes it probably my favorite project so far. I need to have another one like that, right?
Yes, do another one. It's awesome. Um, well, thank you so much, Pierre. My final question for you, um, is just what would you like to leave the audience with?
Um, well, now we all confined. We spend a lot of time online on Twitter and whatever. I think people kind of want to encourage people to share what they like, you know, whatever, if they have a crush on something, whether it's a book or a show or, you know, somebody, you know, their neighbor, whatever, an artist or whatever, and just, you know, go on Twitter, go on Instagram and just say how awesome it is. You know, because, we do see, sometimes we get our energy sucked out of social media because we see so many people griping about the state of things, which is,
Yeah.
you know, absolutely relevant and it's absolutely necessary sometimes, but I think it should be balanced with people just sharing what they love, just in general. Like, just share what you think is really awesome and keep doing that, and it gives energy to people to make awesome things. Sometimes you're gonna, maybe there's gonna be a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, you know, kid who's gonna be exposed to that and be like, okay, this is awesome. I want to do the same thing, and that can, create some vocations and whatever. So I think, yeah, just if I want to tell people to share what they like, even more on social media while we're all confined, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Cool. All right, y'all, you heard him. Share your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Pierre, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thanks. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.